Hello and welcome to Relyence training on getting started with Relyence FMEA. In this tutorial, we'll focus on adding data to the FMEA worksheet. We will assume that you have viewed our previous overview tutorial on getting started with Relyence FMEA prior to viewing this video. To start, we are signed into Relyence and viewing the Welcome dialog. If you do not have this open, click the Help drop-down on the top right of your screen and click Welcome to Relyence. In the Welcome dialog, we make sure that FMEA is selected using the module selectors on the left. We will be using our drone example in this tutorial, so we click Open Example Analysis. If you have already opened and modified the drone example analysis, you can easily remove all of your changes and return to the example analysis in its as-supplied state by clicking Revert Example in the sidebar, which is highlighted in the message that Relyence is now showing. This is not necessary in this case, so I'll click Got It to clear the message. Now Relyence has opened the Design FMEA worksheet for us, which is indicated in the sidebar and title bar, and we'll focus here on the DFMEA worksheet. We'll enter some additional FMEA data at the end of this table, and we'll start by adding a new function. To do this, we click the drop-down arrow on the Insert Toolbar button. Note that we can insert at any FMEA level, such as function, failure mode, effect, cause, or action. To add a new function, we hover over Function and select our preference. In this case, let's choose Insert at End. Note that we can just click the Insert button icon in the toolbar, and Relyence will insert a new FMEA item at the level currently selected. In this case, we have a function field selected, so clicking Insert Now would insert a new function. This is not necessary at this time, so we'll continue with the data entry for our newly entered function. Let's enter data for this new function. Note that as you start typing, Relyence will allow you to auto-complete your phrase as you type based on previously entered data if applicable. This allows you to reuse your FMEA data very easily. This is new data in this case, so we just need to complete the phrase. We press Tab to complete the data entry and move to the next field. For this new function, next let's enter failure mode data. We'll enter the failure mode as imbalance in propellers. And once again, I'll press Tab to complete the data entry and move to the next field. For this demonstration, we'll leave the failure mode severity blank. Note that we can enter a failure mode severity if we wish. Otherwise, Relyence will set it equal to the severity of the failure effect with the highest severity. Note that failure mode severity is the severity value used to calculate RPN, or risk priority number. Next, let's enter effect data for this failure mode. Assume the effect in this case is that the drone is unable to fly straight. In this case, I'll select the previously entered phrase. We'll assume the effect severity is a value of 7. We can either enter the effect severity directly by typing or select it from the drop-down list. In the drop-down list, Relyence provides guidelines for each effect severity value. Once we've completed the data entry for effect severity by pressing Tab, notice that the failure mode severity is now populated since we entered a value for effect severity. Let's next add cause data for this failure mode. Remember that causes and effects are both sibling FMEA items that have failure mode as their parent. Assume the cause is a defective propeller. For classification, this is considered critical. And let's assume the occurrence is a 3. Again, we can note the guidelines Relyence provides for the different occurrence values. Next, we get to the Design Controls fields. These fields are special fields in Relyence, as keeping prevention and detection controls consistent across all of your FMEA elements is critical to performing effective FMEA. Controls apply to your Design FMEA, Process FMEA, Process Flow Diagram, and Control Plans. To enter a prevention control, we click the Control selector on the right side of the field. The Prevention Controls dialog appears. This allows us to select one or more existing prevention controls or add new ones. Here we'll add a new prevention control. We click Add, and the new control dialog appears. For control, let's enter Visual Inspection of Propellers. And we click OK. Now with the new prevention control entered and selected, we click OK to add this to the FMEA worksheet. For this example, we'll leave the Detection Controls field blank and enter a detection value of 9. Noting that once again Relyence provides guidelines for this value. And we complete the entry for this detection field by pressing Tab. We see that RPN is automatically calculated and color-coded for us. It is the product of failure mode severity, cause occurrence, and cause detection. All three of these values have been populated thus far. Having completed the entry of function, failure mode, effect, cause, and design controls data, the next critical piece of the FMEA process is to assign and complete recommended actions. These fields are not shown in our default design view, so we need to use the View selector to change to the Recommended Actions view. And we just need to scroll to the right to see the Recommended Actions fields. Each recommended action is designed to mitigate the cause of the particular failure mode for that record. Note that one cause can have multiple recommended actions. To mitigate the cause of defective propellers, let's add a recommended action to weigh propellers prior to installation. Let's assign it to me, Jane Smith, and let's set a target completion date. Now let's assume the recommended action was completed. We'll enter the action taken details, and enter the effective date. With the recommended action complete, we have to evaluate the severity, occurrence, and detection again to determine the new RPN after the recommended action. To help with this, Relyence FMEA has revised fields. We will leave the effect revised severity as a 7, since we did not do anything to reduce the severity of this effect. notice that the failure mode revised severity has now been populated for us based on that effect revised severity. Next, let's enter a revised occurrence of 2, updating from the previous 3 for occurrence. Since our recommended action will cause defective propellers to occur less frequently. And lastly, let's enter the revised detection as a 7 compared to the initial 9, since our recommended action will allow us to detect when defective propellers occur more successfully. Now that the failure mode revised severity, cause revised occurrence, and cause revised detection fields have been populated, revised RPN is automatically calculated and color-coded for us as the product of these 3 values. And it's certainly a positive that our revised RPN is lower than the initial RPN. This completes the sample FMEA data entry example. Note that we can enter additional data for this function, such as additional failure modes, effects, causes, and actions, or additional functions and associated data using the Insert button in the toolbar. Then simply add additional details throughout the worksheet as shown in this demonstration. This concludes this Getting Started with Relyence FMEA tutorial. Thanks for watching. Please visit our website or contact us with any questions or to obtain pricing and purchasing information.